another HBCU review. Brought to you by HBCU Live.
Welcome to another edition of HBCU Live. We kick off this week's show before a packed house in Richmond, Virginia. Virginia Union meeting Virginia State to decide who would win the CIAA North Division title. The Panthers get off to a quick start. Dane James to Jamal right across the middle. VUU would move into the red zone, and then a little trickeration would get them into the end zone. On the wide receiver handoff, Dante Gross gets into the end zone, give him 6. The Panthers move out to a 6-0 lead. Now, VUU's special teams unit had been standout performers all year long, but when they needed them the most, Panthers special teams let them down. Punt block here by the Trojans. Ball rolls out of bounds inside the 20-yard line. Virginia State can't capitalize on this miscue. So VUU gets the ball back. Trickeration backfires. Jesse York's pass is picked off by Brandon Lynch. Lynch turns it into a pick 6. And just like that, we're tied at 6 as the Trojans miss the point after. More special teams for you, and if I'm showing you a kickoff, something bad happened to one of the teams. It would be Virginia Union in this case. Gross fumbles the ball. It's picked up by Andrew Faison Jr. Faison Jr.'s dad, Andrew, used to coach at VSU. That would set up this touchdown pass from Terrian Ayers to Willie Stubblefield. And Virginia State jumps out to the 12-6 lead. That would be your halftime score. Mike James hoping his Panthers would turn things around in the second half. Instead, they got a big old dose of Terrian Ayers. Ayers breaking containment on the scramble. Nice gain there would set up this touchdown run by Kevon Bellamy. And it's 19-6 in favor of Virginia State. The Trojans and the Woo-Woos definitely approve of what just happened. They're really going to approve of what's about to happen because Terrian Ayers does it again with his legs, breaking containment up the middle into the red zone. Ayers then uses his arm to beat the Panther defense, finding his man, Dion Fooch, across the middle in the back of the end zone. 26-6. It's a blowout at Hovey Field. Here come Virginia Union. That is James to York. That's a touchdown to make the score 26-12. Panther fans were hoping for a rally, but it just wouldn't be. Ayers to Javon Smallwood for the game-clinching touchdown. Virginia State wins the CIAA North Division title with a convincing 33-12 win over Virginia Union. Now we go down to Fayetteville, North Carolina to find out who their opponent would be because the South Division title was up for grabs. So let's head down south now to Nick Gerald Stadium in Fayetteville, where the Broncos of Fayetteville State were looking to end Winston-Salem State's recent stranglehold on the CIAA South. And they get off to a good start early. This is Michael Johnson in punt formation, returning the punt. 87 yards down the sidelines. Give him 6. Fayetteville State jumps out to the quick 7-0 lead. Now, Winston-Salem State had their share of big plays in the first half. Phillip Sims hits Maurice Lewis for the big play here. But the Rams can't parlay this into points. So on the next possession, Sims thinks he's got a wide open Brendan Felder for a touchdown as he streaks down the middle. But hold everything. This is not going to be a touchdown. Keep an eye on Felder as he kind of high steps right here before he gets into the end zone. He gets flagged for taunting, and because he did not score before the high step, the penalty takes place at the spot of the high step. No touchdown for Winston-Salem State. The Rams have to settle for a field goal attempt. And the field goal attempt, as you're about to see, gets blocked. Fayetteville State living the good life so far at Nick Gerald Stadium. They're hanging on to a 7-0 lead. But the Rams, they're nationally ranked for a reason because they're pretty good and they keep the pressure on. Rudy Johnson, big play here to Marcel Caver. Big gain there. Johnson trying to keep the drive alive, looking for points, but this pass is deflected and picked off by Seth Johnson. Fayetteville State leads 7-0 at the half, and you're really starting to wonder if there's going to be an upset. But Ram Pride tries to emerge in the second half. Derek Bryant back to throw. He's going to get picked off by Everett Proctor. Proctor with a nice interception return takes it inside the red zone, but the Rams can't put the ball in the end zone. They can't get any points after that. But on the next possession, Sims finally gets the team into the end zone, finding Eric Williams. The Rams finally kick down the door and tie this game at 7. And yeah, the Ram faithful, the Ram Nation, they're gonna let you know it. Then later in the third quarter, this is Tyree Massey scoring the touchdown to put the Rams up for good. 17 unanswered points by Winston-Salem State in the second half, and the party can begin in Winston-Salem State because the Rams win, and they have a chance to go to the CIAA championship game. It'll be the Rams and Virginia State to decide everything in Durham. Let's catch up with Onadan Group's Eric Moore for a preview of this football game. Should be a good one. All right, it's championship weekend for the CIAA and the SIAC, so we got to bring Eric Moore into the case from Onadan Group, and if we didn't do that, it just wouldn't be responsible on the part of HBCU Live. So, Eric, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much, Sam. I appreciate the kind words. We just happen to hang around. People make phone calls, and so folks think we know a lot, but we just give you the best we can as often as we possibly can.
Well, speaking of giving us the best we can as often as we possibly can, well, we wanted to hype the Virginia State Winston-Salem State game up in Durham. Wanted to hype it up as being the two best teams in the CI, and once again we get controversy. With Tyrion Ayers being suspended for the game for Virginia State, everything quarterback, everything starts and ends pretty much with him. This is a big blow.
It definitely is a big blow because a lot of people, quite frankly, were putting last year's activities behind them and really looking forward to two very good football teams going against each other. And there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of social media. Even Ayers' mama has gone on Twitter to defend her son, as only mothers can do. And while I give her props for doing that, sometimes you might be just better off just laying low and letting it pass. But yes, everybody was looking forward to a very big game between two very good teams. And unfortunately, Virginia State is not going to be at its best with the loss of its starting quarterback.
And it's the second year in a row we've had controversy with this game. I mean, will we ever get to see Virginia State and Winston-Salem State at full strength? I mean, now you go from perhaps having the top quarterback in the conference and giving Winston's stable of quarterbacks that's saying something, and going from Tyrion Ayers to Nico Johnson, a young man that's only thrown 3 passes this year.
Yep, that's very true. It's in fact, there were some NFL analogies that I was looking at when I was watching the Panthers get defeated on Monday Night Football by Philadelphia. And here you're looking at Mark Sanchez coming back and literally rejuvenating himself. Perhaps, and we never really know, this could be an opportunity for the freshman to come in and just show what he can do with opportunities he might not have gotten, with Ayers doing so well. We never know, but there's always the possibility that Virginia State is going to be as strong, or perhaps not as strong as Ayers running the offense because, it's a matter of practice and repetition. But who would have thought this year that Phil Sims would have been such a big contributor to Winston-Salem State? Everybody figured Rudy Johnson was the one. He had some incentives to come back. He's gotten injured, unfortunately, and may not be at his best. So injuries and other unexpected things will always change what we are anticipating. But I still think it's going to be a good game between two good football teams that are very well coached.
And when you look at it now, I guess there will be more emphasis on some of the other playmakers for Virginia State, and Smallwood, the wide receiver, comes to mind because he's a big play waiting to happen, and I don't think it really matters who is the quarterback.
As long as you get the ball to him, then he can do what he needs to do, as they call it, run after catch. He is a threat, and he is a big threat, and because of that, and speed kills, he could be a significant contributor, as well as the stable of running backs that Virginia State had. It's almost like the Virginia State running game against the Winston-Salem State passing game. So the immovable force and the irresistible object, are coming to meet each other in Durham County Stadium.
A lot of people thought before the Arian suspension that Virginia State had what it took to beat Winston-Salem State. I know there were a few people out there that were even going out to say, hey, mark it down, the Trojans win this game. Do you think that there's going to be anybody outside of the land of the woo-woos thinking that Virginia State can pull off this upset now?
I think the general consensus, to be honest with you, is that, Virginia State has been hurt. And by losing such a key player to their operation, and in fact, with less than a week to go before the game, there are game prep kinds of things. Can people make the adjustment? Will the distraction of this suspension impact them mentally? A lot of that, I think, will move most people. As they say, the general thing, it'll be a good game and people won't be too upset.
All right, Eric. Thanks so much for the knowledge.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Eric, for the CIAA knowledge. Now let's go to the SIAC, where the West Division title up for grabs in Fairfield, Alabama, just outside Birmingham. Miles College and Tuskegee, two arch rivals. They don't like each other too much. That's Trevor Wiley with a field goal to put TU up by a score of 3-0, and then Miles takes control of this game. Demetric Price to Ernest Bell, and Bell with a lot of yak, yards after catch. And because of that, they get into the red zone, and Price cashes in. Antonio Pitts with the touchdown reception, 7-3 in favor of Miles. The Golden Bears looking good early against the Golden Tigers. Justin Narrett picked off by Travis Lee. Travis Lee cuts it back across the green. Travis Lee with a pick six. And just like that, Miles extends their lead in the second quarter to 17-6. More Miles action to show you here later, because Demetric Price was hot in the first half. Price to Darren Fife across the middle. Look at Fife go, carving up the Tuskegee defense. And a few plays later, Xavier Bacon would cash in, sizzling his way into the end zone. 24-13 Miles at the half. It's 27-13 midway through the third quarter. And I'm about to show you another kickoff, and and I'll show you a kickoff, something bad's going to happen for one of the teams. Tuskegee needed a spark, and Hodrick Lowe will provide the spark. 92 yards later, he's in the end zone. Mighty momentum changed in this game after this kick return for the touchdown. Makes it 27-20. Then the sack here by Darryl George. Tuskegee back in business, and now comes my favorite running back in the SIAC, Michael J. Thornton. You can't contain him. You can't stop him. 27-26. Miles still leads, but in the fourth quarter, it's all Tuskegee outscoring Miles 22-6 in the final quarter. TU wins the SIAC West Division title by a score of 48-33. They get a rematch with Albany State down at the Crandon Bowl in Montgomery. Now, the Golden Rams had already clinched the SIAC East Division title, but pride was definitely on the line in Columbus, Georgia, because it's the Fountain City Classic, the Golden Rams, and Fort Valley State, the Wildcats. And the Wildcats come out smoking. Christopher Jam, trickeration to Dreon Freeman, 67 yards, touchdown. Wildcats jump out to a 7-0 lead. Here come the Golden Rams on the attack. Frank Rivers to Ryan Latner, gets inside the red zone. Time for the little engine that can. That's Jarvis Small. Touchdown run, give him 6. You can't stop that little man. Touchdown ties the game at 7 apiece. 10-7 Albany State in the second quarter. Rivers going to work again. He finds Adrian Alexander across the middle. One more time. The little engine they can. Jarvis Small, his 9th consecutive game with at least 100 yards rushing. 17-7 now in favor of Albany State. Fort Valley State strikes quickly, however. That is Malcolm Eady to Dreon Freeman. Freeman with a huge game, 9 receptions, 171 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 17-14 at the break in the third quarter. Rivers gets greedy. He gets picked by Brian Walker. Nice over-the-shoulder catch for the pick. And then a nice return by Walker. And the Wildcats have a chance to take advantage of their good fortune. And, of course, they're going to do it. Jalen White cuts it back, finds a seam, gets tackled at the 2-yard line. But a couple of plays later, Malcolm Eady gets it done from a yard out. And Fort Valley State now leads this game by a score of 21-20. Could it be an upset in Columbus, GA? The Wildcats think so, but the Golden Rams have other ideas. Rivers, nice long-distance hookup here. Pretty pass to Leonard Walker. Going to set up the game-winning touchdown here. Rivers to Quadre Simmons. Across the middle, the air attack. Very effective for Albany State on this day. Zachary Gayden would add a couple of field goals to make the final score in this game 32-21 in favor of Albany State. We get the rematch that we anticipated with Tuskegee for the SIAC championship. Let's bring back Eric Moore from the Anadan Group and let's break down what should be one heck of a matchup between the Golden Rams and the Golden Tigers.
Okay, Eric, let's talk about the SIAC championship game now. Tuskegee and Albany State in a rematch. I saw this one earlier this season in Phoenix City. Looked like Albany State was about to take control. The weather delay hits. Tuskegee comes out of the weather delay with a big dose of Kevin Lacey, and they pulled out a 20-12 win. I'm interested in this one just as much, if not more, than Virginia State-Winston.
You know, that's a very valid point, Sam, because in many instances, when we think about rematches, I just looked at the date. You're talking about a game that was 2 months ago, and a whole lot can happen in 2 months. So I am anticipating that Albany will remember what they did, and knowing Tuskegee and the kind of games that they have been playing, recently, it's going to be a great game. And as you had just implied, and I would agree with you, the team that has the ball last, who executes, will probably win.
Now, contrasting styles, when we talked about the CI, we all talk about the quarterbacks first of all, for both Virginia State and for Winston. But when I look at Tuskegee and I look at Albany State, well, yeah, you got the two-headed monster with Tuskegee at quarterback, although I think Lacey's more explosive at quarterback than Justin Narrett. But with Albany State, they just run the ball down your throat. Jarvis Small has 9 straight 100-yard games. I call him the little engine that can, Eric. He is something to see.
He truly is. He leads the conference in rushing. He's averaged over 125 yards a game. And you're right. In most instances, SIAC teams depend on the run. You'll find premier running backs all over the place, including Jacquees Lockett. I'm just throwing his name in, from Kentucky State, who is the second leading rusher. But when you have 2 rushers averaging well over 100 yards a game who are leading the conference, then you can go down to several other gentlemen who lead their teams in rushing. It may come down to a ground and pound game. And again, we get back to that fourth quarter situation, because in many instances, if you've been trying to stop these freight trains for 3 quarters, depending upon your stamina and where you stand in terms of just physical conditioning, you may or may not be able to stop them. Then all of a sudden you'll get what had been stopped for a 4 or 5 yard gain get broken for a 40 or 50 yard gain. That could make a big difference in terms of the results of the contest.
And as far as the super regionals go, I think if what I'm seeing is correct in the updated rankings, an Albany State win may mean that both Tuskegee and Albany can get in there in the super regionals, whereas obviously if Tuskegee wins, it's just the Golden Tigers.
That's a good point. And in fact, that's one of the nice things that's begun to develop for both the CI and the SIAC, is that once they begin to understand how the regional ranking game gets played, and then there's that earned access possibility, it makes it possible for more schools to get represented beyond the conference champion. And we could see some interesting developments. The SIAC has had 2 schools in the playoffs in the past. The CI has been trying to get 2 schools in, and who knows if there is a Virginia State victory, that could conceivably happen also. So yes, things are looking ahead.
Let's look at some drama quickly in the MEAC. We got 3 schools tied for first place: South Carolina State, Bethune-Cookman, and North Carolina A&T. Looks like the Bulldogs control their destiny since they beat both Bethune and A&T. Who gets that second bid if they finish in a 3-way tie?
That's very good, because the MEAC has worked out a rather detailed system in terms of FBS victories, FCS victories, Division II losses, and a point system to really make a decision regarding who gets that bid. And from a quick look at that point system, it looks like Bethune is in the better position than perhaps North Carolina A&T to get that potential at-large bid or conference championship. The MEAC will often say co-champions in terms of more than one team finishing in the top of the standing. But they do have a method to work out who would get the automatic bid to the playoffs. And then, of course, the rankings have a lot to do with whether a second team will get that bid. I think A&T has been mentioned, but they haven't quite broken the top.
Bethune-Cookman trying to keep their title hopes alive as they hit the road to face Norfolk State. Both teams came into this game with one conference loss. Terrence Irvin to Chris Lee, touchdown. The Spartans jump out to a 7-0 lead. They're going wild at Dick Price Stadium. Here comes Bethune-Cookman on the rally, though. Quentin Williams to Jomo Gordon. It's a touchdown, but the Wildcats missed the extra point, so it's 7-6 in favor of Norfolk State. And the Spartans, they meant business in this game. They came to play. Larry Brim gets drilled right here by Brandon Walker, number 20, laying the wood for the Spartans. And then later, Quentin Williams trying to make it happen through the air, but he gets picked off by Keenan Lambert. Norfolk State with a 7-6 lead. Bethune-Cookman trying to find their mojo. And they find it in the third quarter, finally. Quentin Williams with a nice pass here across the middle to Justin Henderson. Going to set up a field goal by Ben Naboa. This field goal will give Bethune-Cookman an 11-7 lead. Pete Adrian trying to find a way to get the Spartans into the end zone and to steal the upset win, but it wouldn't be. Terrence Irvin trapped in the end zone, trying to escape the pressure from BCU, but he sacked the second safety of the game for Bethune-Cookman. BCU wins a defensive slugfest in Norfolk with a 13-7 win over the Spartans. Now we travel down to Charlotte, North Carolina, the oldest, the longest running HBCU rivalry renewed. Johnson C. Smith and Livingstone College. JCSU had won the last 5 meetings against Livingstone. The Blue Bears sick of losing to this team, so they came out swinging. Camille Brown, nice run early in the game for the Blue Bears. Then Drew Powell scrambles out of trouble, finds Brown wide open across the middle, give him 6. The Blue Bears jump out to the 7-0 lead. As Brown pats himself on the back, the Blue Bears say, the jinx ends today. We will win on Johnson C. Smith's home field. Andrew Alexander had a different idea. He finds Fred Scott across the middle. Scott had 2 touchdown receptions on the day. Johnson C. Smith jumps out to the 14-7 lead. Critical sequence of plays coming up here in the second half. Drew Powell scrambles out of trouble, gets tackled at the 1-yard line. Looks like Livingstone's going to score, but a few plays later, Powell gets stripped, and the Golden Bulls recover. Critical miscue by Livingstone. And then Johnson C. Smith on the move. This is Andrew Alexander handing off to Leander Barney. Barney with a nice run here. We're tied at 14 in the fourth quarter. Johnson C. Smith with a nice drive, trying to turn it into some points here. Andrew Alexander with the quarterback sneak right up the middle. Give him 6. Johnson C. Smith takes the lead for good. JCSU with 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. I cannot identify this dance, but the JCSU president always breaks into a dance when they beat Livingstone College. You would think after 6 straight wins he'd have a nice little dance step, but hey. I can't say nothing because I'm not a dancer either, okay? JCSU, 6 straight wins over Livingstone. Final score, 31-14. Let's go to Atlanta now for the season finale for both Morehouse and Kentucky State. The Thoroughbreds on the attack. This is Jaquise Lockett galloping his way through the Morehouse defense all the way to the end zone, a 77-yard touchdown run. This young man has a chance to play football on Sundays at the next level. He's that good. Kentucky State jumps out to a 7-0 lead. Morehouse would come right back. Hamilton Shelton on the 1-yard touchdown run ties the game at 7. Kentucky State comes right back. They're on the move, trying to get some points, but the Morehouse defense comes through. This pass is going to be picked off by Raynard Ware. Ware with a nice catch right here and an even better return. The Maroon Tigers are in business because they would take advantage of this miscue. Monquavius Johnson back to throw. Gets out of some trouble. Pretty pass there to Lance McGuffey. And the Maroon Tigers have a 14-7 lead at the break. Johnson gets greedy here later in the game. Jermaine Graham gets the pick for Kentucky State and then gets tripped up by the turf. He had a chance to turn that into a pick 6, but the turf ate him up. Adam Robinson comes back later, finds Tramel Davis. Davis fumbles at the goal line. The ball goes out of bounds in the end zone. It's ruled a touchback. And the Maroon Tigers dodge a bullet there. They don't dodge a bullet here, though. Robinson finds James Happy in the end zone for the touchdown. Morehouse's lead is trimmed in the fourth quarter to 20-14. But the Maroon Tigers would create a little bit of space. Monquavius Johnson's touchdown run makes it 26-14 at this point, but Kentucky State wasn't done. Robinson finds Corey Slaughter. Slaughter gets into the end zone, 26-20 in favor of the house. One last gasp for Kentucky State late in the game, final minute. But Robinson is picked off by Thaddeus Shaw. So Morehouse with a game-saving interception to save the game 2 weeks in a row to close out their regular season. Morehouse wins a wild one at VT Harvey Stadium, 26-20 over Kentucky State. Now let's go to the HBCU Live scoreboard so you can see how your team fared last week. That'll do it for this week's edition of HBCU Live. We're coming back next week with the SIAC and CIAA championship games. Opportunities for sponsorship still available, so look us up. www.hbculive@aol.com or give us a call at 704-609-7157. That'll do it for this week's show. We'll see you next week. Hope your team comes out on the winning side of the scoreboard.